There's this crazy thing happening right now, and we really need to talk about it. UNICEF released a report called 10 million additional girls at risk of child marriage due to COVID-19. They say that COVID-19 will be responsible for 10 million additional early marriages by 2030. Of all the crazy things COVID is doing all around the world, how can a virus like COVID-19 be responsible for increasing child marriages by 10 million? What is child marriage? So UNICEF defines child marriage as the formal marriage or informal union between a child under the age of 18 and an adult or another child. Beyond the definition though, I wanted to learn more about child marriage, so I got in touch with some experts.
Child marriage is a problem. It is a byproduct of a socio-economic and cultural setting.
Early marriage is deeply ingrained in many cultures, and there's a lot of religions that would support early marriage.
She may not be ready for a marriage. A marriage demands a lot, especially in some of the contexts. It is basically a marriage to hardship and to hard labor, having to pick firewood, to feed family, to bear children.
Child marriage creates a nightmarish legal trap for children. They can be entered into the marriage by parents and or a judge with little or no input from them.
If the minor doesn't want to get married, doesn't matter because they don't have boys. The boys are from their parents, one of them, and from one judge, the person allowed from the law to give the authorization for a minor to get married.
Across the globe, poverty is clearly one of the leading drivers of child marriage. And when we zoom out and look at the entire world, alive right now are 650 million people who are forced to marry before the age of 18. If child marriage is so bad, and it clearly is, then why is it so prevalent still?
When a family is struggling with the basic necessities of life, like food, any child is an extra mouth. And if a girl can get married, that is one less mouth they have to worry about. More importantly, in many of those marriages, there's an exchange of dowry.
While families may be tempted financially to marry off their children, those perceived benefits are replaced really quickly with a set of dark and dangerous long-term outcomes.
The younger you are when you are pregnant or you're parenting, the more likely there are to be physiological complications.
Sometimes the child, she dies at the delivery. And because she's so immature, so young, she cannot deliver the child.
In many cases, these girls end up turning to suicide attempts.
Fact is, we were on track to totally eliminate child marriage by 2030. That's less than 10 years from now. But now that progress is being threatened. Before the pandemic, UNICEF was estimating that 100 million children would be forced into child marriage before 2030. But now, because of COVID, they've added an additional 10 million children to that list. When you talk to the experts here, they'll actually bring up three primary drivers of why this is happening. The first is loss of education. Because of lockdowns, children have been kept from going to school. The second is a declining family income. Parents have lost their jobs and they're struggling to provide for their families. The third is isolation. Families have been on lockdown. They don't have access to the normal churches, local government, or some of the nonprofits that would normally help them in these situations.
COVID has created a situation where we know that millions of children will not go back to school.
Because COVID has brought such a hardship in the life. They were poor before, they are making more poor now.
Burkina Faso is a landlocked country in Western Africa. It's actually home to 3 million child brides. And child marriage is actually illegal there, but it's not strictly enforced. I have a friend who lives in Burkina Faso, and he put me in touch with a woman who found herself fighting child marriage firsthand.
Dans le début du mois de décembre, on a reçu une lettre de Jamila parce qu'on voulait la marier. Qui a convoqué ses parents afin de les sensibiliser et de les amener à abandonner cette idée. Effectivement, quand ils sont venus et qu'ils ont compris vraiment l'ampleur même du danger qu'eux-mêmes ils courent, par la grâce de Dieu, ils ont abandonné l'idée du mariage de cet enfant-là. Et que, en tout cas, à l'heure, l'enfant s'épanouit et l'enfant grandit normalement.
So clearly, COVID-19 is driving 10 million additional girls into child marriage by 2030. But that's in the future. That hasn't happened yet. What can we do to stop it? Well, the experts will bring up a few primary things. And the first is actually to change the laws.
Laws don't change culture, but they help push the direction.
The next thing we can do is open the schools back up and make sure that every child is accounted for.
Every girl who gets educated delays marriage and delays bearing children.
We have to start empowering our girls, the community, the family. It's a very important step to eliminate child marriage from our law.
As we wrap up here, I still can't believe that COVID-19 is causing these insane ripple effects across our world. It's making these already terrible things worse. And if we sit on the sidelines, if we don't do anything, nothing will get better, and child marriage will just continue. I have 2 daughters, and when I reflect on all of this, I'm reminded that children deserve to be children. They have hopes and dreams. They have a whole future ahead of them. They have so much to offer their communities and their countries. When a child is forced into marriage, all that is taken away. And these children, they deserve to have a future, just like my 2 girls do.